Hey everybody, this is Butterbean, my figure 8 puffer, and I'm going to apologize in advance for the noisy video. I've got a tank draining, so the filter's over there gurgling, plus we got the open top tank right next to us. I got a fan running in the room at the moment, so we got a lot going on and it's generating a lot of buzz and noise and everything else. Just a impromptu video here. If you will look at Butterbean, you see those white marks on him. I've seen the marks up by his head. There's a good look at him right above his left eye. You can see all those sort of white marks. Now, for a long time, I thought maybe he had banged into something and sort of scraped his face, and those were the scars from it. But now I'm starting to see those marks all over him, and right there behind his right pectoral fin, you can see some really large marks, and they're actually beginning to look like lesions, like the skin is eroding away. It looks very similar to hole-in-the-head disease or something like that. So I'm getting kind of concerned about him. I'm not sure what would cause this. I've looked it up online. I've not been able to find anything other than ick or marine ick, and I don't think this is either one of those conditions. So naturally, my first thought was, the elevated nitrates in my tank. If you're a regular viewer, you'll know that I'm not shy about the fact that I don't keep my nitrates really low. I'm not too worried about that. But that's just one of those oddball things, like, how do we even begin to assess whether elevated nitrates in the tank would be causing this issue or exacerbating the issue? If there's some other, if he's got some sort of disease, would higher nitrate levels, make him more susceptible to that? Possibly. I'll even go so far as to say probably. But how would we possibly know whether high nitrate levels would be causing this kind of stuff? And that's where I always scratch my head about it. So just out of curiosity, I checked the nitrate level in this tank. And it was red, but it was barely red. It was really just into the red zone above the orange. And so I did a 10-gallon water change on the tank, and that actually brought it down into the orange. We're still at the very high end of orange, but we're probably below that 40 parts per million on the nitrates. Now, I do very infrequent water changes on this tank because it's so lightly stocked. It's only got a couple of shrimp. It's got 3 shrimp. It's got a few little bumblebee gobies, and then it's got those 2 mollies, and then Butterbean here, of course, in this 40-gallon tank. So I don't really, the last time I checked the filter, it looked like I had just cleaned it. I didn't really see any point in cleaning it even. So I've sort of slacked off on how frequently I put, I get in there and do the water changes and the filter changes and stuff like that. And we're still not seeing high nitrate levels in this tank, and yet I'm seeing these weird marks beginning to develop on him. Now, he's always been very skittish. He's always been sort of unusual for a puffer. Most puffers are pretty outgoing and aggressive. I was just saying to a friend of mine today, after all the years I've had this fish, he still freaks out when I do water changes. He still freaks out when I open the lid to feed him. I mean, most guppies figure out that I'm the one that feeds them within days and are banging against the glass when I walk in the room. This guy's still skittish around me for some reason. It's just really strange. So it's always been an unusual sort of puffer. Not really sure why he's pacing the glass like that. I don't know if he hears me out here. I do have the overhead light turned off in the room, so the room looks much darker. And possibly he's seeing the reflection in the glass. I'm not really sure what's going on there. But I just wanted to try to get some video of him with those marks on him, and hopefully that was showing up well enough on camera. If anybody recognizes that, or even just has a suspicion of what they think it might be, by all means, put your comments down below. I'd love to hear from you. Anything that gives me any help at all, any kind of direction to go in, as far as researching what it might be and how I can correct for it. I've considered the idea that the shrimp in the tank might be sort of biting on him and nibbling him. I know that sounds absolutely stupid to think that shrimp would be attacking a puffer, but I've got 3 shrimp that live in this tank with this puffer, and he doesn't eat them. In fact, if he's feeding and the shrimp come over and touch him with their antenna, a lot of times he'll be the one that dashes away. So I would tend to think he'd draw the line at, the shrimp coming up and biting him. I think that would be the end, like the But I don't know. I don't know where to go with what could possibly be going wrong with him to cause all these lesions all over him like that. His belly is gray sometimes, which is an indicator of stress. But more often than not, his belly's nice and bright white, and he's just cruising around the tank. He never strikes me as an unhappy fish. And even now, his belly's not particularly gray, even though he's pacing the glass and everything. He's obviously very well fed. You know, he's in there like a fat marble all the time. That's where he got the name Butterbean. So, I don't know. But I did want to just get this on video. As I said, I'm in the middle of doing a water change on my 125, so that's getting down to about where I need to start thinking about putting some water back in it. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up and say thanks for watching. And remember, please put your comments down below if you think you might have some kind of idea of what is causing these white marks or these lesions where it really looks like his skin is deteriorating away. If we could get one last look at the other side, right behind his right pectoral fin is where it's the worst. And I mean, it looks like somebody took a melon baller and took a little scoop out of his flesh almost. So there you go. I don't think he's going to give us a good look at that or not. But there's Butterbean in my 40-gallon brackish tank. So thanks again for watching, everybody, and I will see you real soon in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you real soon. Thanks.